Well, folks, spring's in the air and we got some work to do on the 125. So, last time I rode this thing, last fall, rode it real hard and put it away wet. So, first thing we need to do, clean it up, and got some parts to replace on it before we do some riding this year. Dude, check out this air filter. Can't believe I put it away that dirty. This is why you wash your bikes right after you ride them and not let them sit all winter. Crust it on there. And for that said crusty stuff, I just spray it down with Simple Green HD. Just gotta freshen up the aluminum, and lately this has been my go-to for get this aluminum back to looking sharp. Basically, just an abrasive pad on a little holder here. Makes it so you don't bang up your knuckles on all the sharp stuff. As I was washing it, I kind of noticed I've been neglecting this thing. Brake pads, obviously air filter. I don't even know the last time I changed the oil on it, and grips are pretty torn up. Just needs a good going through, checking on the bolts. Go ahead and pop a fresh filter on this thing for the year. Went upstairs and grabbed one from the store. So in the past, you guys might have seen me use these filter skins. I do like them, but I think they just add another step in the process, and honestly, I just clean my filter after every ride. So I'm gonna try not using these for a bit, see how I like them. The one thing I really do like about them is that they just add an extra layer of protection here. You can see how dirty the skin is compared to the actual filter. You could actually just clean the skin and leave the filter. You can see this really isn't that dirty. And that would also save you some time, but I don't know, I'm just gonna simplify it and use a filter only, and if it starts getting really nasty, I'm gonna add the skins back into the game. So something I see that is very roached is these rear brake pads, pretty much all the way down to the metal there. And while I'm at it, I gotta put new guards on. If you guys remember, about 4 years ago, I did Sugarcoat on these guards, and as you can see, didn't really hold up too well. So that is not something I would recommend doing. There's a better way to go about that, which would be dyeing the guards with RIT dye, or you can just buy OEM guards that are black. The newer CRFs have black guards. To make more room for the pads, you have to pull the cap here and let some fluid out. Had a little bit of life left there. Could have gotten a few more hours out of them. Did a little parts run at the store upstairs and got some new pads. Dude, this is an original pad from 2005. So the original pads have these metal clips. Do you guys run them? I typically never run these and never had an issue. So I'm gonna run these pads without those metal clips, and if they start making squeaking noises, then I'll pop them in. Then we've got our black caliper guard, or fully black one. Pump the brakes, and then we're all good to go. Gotta swap out this guard too. This one took a beating. Looks like the same guard, just black. As you can see, this one was chipping through as well. Oh yeah, that's way better. That's so cute. Woohoo! This is our halftime break from working on bikes. You wanna do a wheelie? That was kind of scary, huh? You wanna say something? Can you giggle? Say dada. Dada. Okay, you wanna go for a ride now? Got some more goodies from the store. So these chain and sprockets, or at least the sprockets, are original from '05 as well. And the chain that I had on there was on there for 9 years, and it was quite floppy. So time to finally upgrade here. Let's pull this rear wheel off. Honestly, it's easier to loosen these nuts with the wheel still on the bike. You guys are just waiting for the wrench to slip and me wreck my knuckles, huh? Yeah, they're not really cupped out. They're just kind of worn on the top of the teeth. Hub looks good. None of the holes are wallered out. So nowadays, usually you have two options for sprockets: aluminum, which is a lot lighter, or steel. Now the steel sprockets are getting a lot lighter these days. This is a kind of a lightweight rear sprocket. It still is, I would say, about twice the weight of aluminum sprocket. So obviously on a 125, we want to conserve as much power. So I'm gonna go with an aluminum sprocket on here. But if this was a 250 or 450, I would probably run a steel, just because those steel sprockets last so long. Honestly, I think the steel one looks better. This is the steel sprocket. It just has a little better design, but what do you guys like? The steel or the aluminum better? What do you run on your bikes? It goes to show how little wear a 125 does on sprockets. Like I said, this is an 18-year-old sprocket, brand new sprocket here. I could have ran this for probably quite a few more hours, honestly. I was tempted just to use the old sprocket bolts, but you know what? New ones are cheap. This rotor is looking a little thin. Let's go ahead and measure it. It says minimum thickness 3.5 mil. Oh no, we're still good. It's about 3.8. Can't tell you how convenient these grease guns are. What can I say? I'm pretty good at finding holes. Sometimes it doesn't fit. That's the problem. You know why Hondas are the best bikes out there? They got locking rear axle nuts. Now it's best to pull the sprocket bolt with the chain on. That way you can just hold the rear wheel. I already took the chain off a few months ago, so we're going to use a holder tool. You could just put the bike in gear as well, but I don't really like that idea too much. Definitely some Loctite on that one. You can see the teeth are starting to bend a little bit here. I'm just going to be replacing these sprockets with the same size, 1352. This is one bolt you do not want coming loose. Same with your rear sprocket bolts. I'm going to use red Loctite on this. Not a ton. I don't want it stuck in there for life. All right, there we go. All done. Let's go for a ride, boys. Just gotta hand tighten it for now, and then I'll torque it once the chain is on. And speaking of the chain, before we get that mounted up, I'm gonna check all the chain sliders, chain rollers. That spins pretty good. It's kind of worn. That should be fine. That chain roller is good. So we're looking at the material right here. Still got some hours left in that. Now it's common for the front slider to wear on the bottom side. So make sure you bend down and look underneath. We're gonna pop on an X-ring gold chain. Ooh, that is beautiful. Nothing better than a gold chain and a black sprocket. I think that's the ultimate combo. All right, so I ended up getting pretty lucky with this chain. I cut it, and then when I put it on, I had to put the bolts all the way in, and it ended up being perfect tension. So we're in a good spot with that. It is nice having swing arm decals, kind of prevents it from getting scratched up. So I'll probably print up some new ones for this, but for now we'll just appreciate the nice aluminum look on here. Wow, this swing arm's still in really good shape because these stickers have been on here pretty much since the bike was new. I don't think I ever told the story of how I got this 125. So it's probably like 10 years ago. I saw this ad on Facebook, and there was this 125 stuffed in the back corner of this guy's shed. I went and looked at it, and it looked like this bike had maybe 5 hours on it, and it just, carburetor was all torn apart, air filter was rotted out, but everything was original. All original bearings, had the original piston when I got it. I went and did a top end on it, and that was it. It's been a really good bike since then, but yeah, pretty much all original from 05. All right, most of the wear items are checked over or replaced. Now it's on to the controls. I'm gonna lube the clutch cable, lube up the clutch lever, and then also take apart the mechanism in the front brake here, the lever here, and grease that up as well. Clutch and the cable is all lubed up, feeling buttery. We're gonna let this 125 just go da 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 da. So I've actually had this clutch lever set up, the Works Connection one, on this bike since I've had it, and then I had it on previous bikes. This lever is probably 15 years old. If that says anything about Works Connection stuff, I don't know what will. This stuff is top notch. It's sun faded, it's scraped up, but it has survived a lot of abuse. One of the best upgrades you can do on older Honda is an 07 and newer CRF 250 or 450 front master cylinder. The brake just works so much better. The lever has a way better feel. Master works better. So that's what I have on this. I don't know why this bolt's so freaking crusty. So what makes these newer master cylinders work so good is they have these articulating arm that connects to a little shaft that goes into the master cylinder. This should move, but it's all seized up. Just something else I was neglecting on this bike. Oh yeah, she's bent. Give her a couple smacks. So I'm gonna call that good for the controls. I do need new grips, although I could probably get a couple more years out of these things. Let's get some frame and engine guards. You guys might remember these. I printed up some sets for the RM a few months back, and just got these for the 125. I wanna test them out on this bike. Basically what they are, it is a very thick textured vinyl that protects the frame, engine covers. So we've got flywheel cover, both frame guards, and a clutch cover. So to get these on, just gonna clean up these parts with isopropyl alcohol. You wanna get it very, very clean. Give it a little heat to the guard and to the frame. Now we're just adding some heat to it to really let that adhesive set in. And that's basically it. Frame guards are pretty easy to do. This flywheel cover is gonna be a little bit more tricky because it has some valleys here, but this material, once it's heated up, actually conforms very well to the curves and tight spots. Yeah, that thing conformed just awesome to that cover. That's surprising. Fits in all of those little valleys and crevices. So we're gonna put these things through the test. I just gotta do the clutch side now. Here's another important maintenance point you don't want to miss is the rear brake pedal pivot bolt. Just a light cleanup and greasing is really all you need to do here. While we're at it, let's hit the Kickstarter too. So while I'm popping a new spark plug for the year, I'm gonna check the compression. It's probably been about 7 years since I did the top end on this. Curious how the spark plug will look too. Actually looks pretty solid. Looks like she's running clean. All right, we're looking for at least 140 PSI here. 120, 125. No, that's like more like 130. Yeah, definitely on the low end. Probably want to do the top end on this soon. So as we saw, a little low on compression, I'm gonna dump a couple of drops of mixing oil into the cylinder. And if the compression goes up after that, then we are getting a little low on ring seal. Yeah, that's better. About 145, 140. So not a huge difference. Honestly, I should probably do a top end on this within a few months. But if you guys are looking for a good compression tester, this one works great. I would just recommend taking the tank off. It's kind of hard to fish the hose in at a 90-degree angle there. And we've got a fresh plug for the season. BR9EG is what I've been running. So the recommended gap for this bike is 0.5 to 0.6 millimeter. 0.5 is perfect, so we're good to go. Spokes are next. I'm gonna start out the rim lock here. Tighten the first one, skip 2, tighten. These don't need to be super tight. You can kind of hear it right there. So for moto, I like to run 14 in the front and 12 in the back. We are currently at like 1 PSI. Right there. We are ready to fire this thing up, get it warmed up, and change out the gear oil. At some point soon, I'm gonna do graphics and seat cover on this thing to kind of freshen it up again. Let's go ahead and get this nasty gear oil out of here. You know what? Let's pull the skid plate while we're at it. Not today. It is pretty grimy. Guys, this is why you run a skid plate. Keep your bottom of your frame dent free. This thing doesn't have a single ding in it. Now for gear oil, I'll be using Maxima MTL 80 weight, and I'm gonna measure it out. This bike takes 650 cc. Start with 500. You can also check the oil level with the screw here. Just pull it out, and when it dribbles out, you are full. All right, that's gonna be it for the oil change. The very last thing I need to check over on this bike is the coolant. Just make sure it's topped off here. Looks like we're good to go. Now there's a few more things I could have done on this as far as maintenance. I could have done the linkage bearings, swing arm, and steering stem, but all that was serviced pretty recently as well, so I'm not gonna worry about that probably till this summer if I do a lot of laps on this. But that is pretty much gonna wrap up the spring tune-up on the 125. The next video you guys see, we'll be prepping the track and giving this thing some, giving her the berries. So stay tuned for that. We're gonna keep making two strokes great again. So we'll see you there. Oh, piece of garbage floating through the field. I need to go get that.